Ever watch one of those heist movies? You know, the ones where they're pulling off something so crazy,
Yeah.
you kind of got to be impressed.
Totally.
Like, wow, the planning that went into that.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the vibe I got with this whole Bank of Uganda thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's a digital heist,
Huh?
straight up.
Hmm.
Hackers, millions of dollars, maybe even some inside help, the whole bit.
Sounds juicy.
Oh, it is. So we're going deep on this one today, figuring out how it all went down. But also, what does this tell us about cybersecurity, especially in Africa? And what can we all learn from this?
All right, let's break it down.
So these hackers, they were using this alias Waste, and they hit the Bank of Uganda hard.
And this wasn't some quick in and out job.
No.
This was like they got in and they stayed in.
Yeah.
Setting up all these fraudulent transactions, siphoning off millions over time. It's pretty wild.
That's what makes it so different, right?
Yeah.
Because we're talking November 2024 is when this thing hit the news, but who knows how long they were in there before anyone noticed.
Exactly. That's a huge red flag.
Right. Like, what's going on with the Bank of Uganda's security systems? Were they just not up to par? Or did the hackers find some way around them completely?
And then you add in the fact that they arrested 9 senior officials from the Ministry of Finance, no less.
Yeah, that's where things get really interesting.
Now, investigations are still going, got to emphasize that, but you can't help but wonder, was there someone on the inside helping these guys out? Or was it just a massive oversight?
It's a real digital whodunit, and the implications go way beyond Uganda,
Yeah.
right? Because this feels like part of a much bigger trend.
Absolutely.
We're seeing financial cybercrime exploding all across Africa.
It's a huge problem, yeah.
You get South Africa, for example.
Yeah.
Banking fraud has doubled, just in the last little while. And a lot of it is focused on things like, vehicle financing, mortgages, stuff that really hits people where it hurts.
It's scary stuff. You apply for a loan thinking everything's legit, and bam, someone's already taken one out in your name. That's your credit score shot.
And then there's Ethiopia. They had this whole system glitch in one of their major banks.
Commercial Bank of Ethiopia.
And boom, $40 million gone, just like that.
Oof.
And then you have Nigeria, Kenya. They're fighting this constant battle against online fraud, and they're often just outmatched,
Their security systems aren't as strong. Resources are stretched thin. It's tough.
So is this just a technology gap we're talking about? Like Africa's just playing catch up in the digital world?
Mm-hmm.
Or is there something more to it?
It's complicated. There's no single answer.
Right.
But a big part of it is a lot of these countries, they're rushing to digitize their financial systems, which is great in theory. But if the security infrastructure isn't there to support it, it's like building a high-tech house with all the fancy gadgets and big windows, but forgetting to put locks on the doors.
Just asking for trouble.
Yeah, it's a vulnerability. And the bad guys, they see that, they exploit it.
So this Bank of Uganda thing, it's a wake-up call, right? Not just for Africa, but for everyone.
Oh, absolutely.
This can happen anywhere, to anyone, if we're not careful. So what can we do? How do we shore up these defenses, make sure something like this doesn't happen again?
Well, the good news is we can learn from this.
Right.
We know what went wrong, so now we got to fix it, and a big part of that is upgrading security infrastructure.
Okay, so what does that look like?
Well, for one thing, AI-powered fraud detection.
Yeah, AI's everywhere these days.
It's for a good reason. These systems, they use machine learning to analyze transactions as they happen, and they can spot patterns that us humans might miss, like your credit card company, when they flag a weird purchase.
Yeah. Did you really spend $500 on this?
Exactly. It's like that, but on a much bigger scale, looking for those tiny red flags that could mean a cyber attack is going down.
So catch it early before too much damage is done.
Right, but tech's only part of the solution.
Okay, what else?
You got to have strong internal controls, think regular audits, making sure everyone's following the rules, and multi-factor authentication. That's huge.
Multi-factor authentication? That's like when you log into your bank account and they send you a code to your phone, right?
Exactly. It's an extra layer of security, makes it way harder for hackers to get in, even if they do manage to bypass the first line of defense.
Makes sense, because even with all the fancy tech in the world, human error can still mess things up.
Oh, absolutely. And let's not forget about malicious insiders, people who are actively trying to sabotage the system from within.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole other can of worms.
Which is why collaboration is so important Governments, private companies, cybersecurity experts, we all got to be on the same page, sharing information, working together to stay ahead of the bad guys.
Like a global cybersecurity task force.
Kind of, yeah, because this isn't a problem any one country can solve on its own. It's a global issue. Everyone's connected.
And what about us, the regular folks who just use online banking and stuff? What can we do to protect ourselves?
You play a huge role. Public awareness is key. It's all about educating yourself, learning about online safety, creating strong passwords, not using the same one for everything, being aware of phishing scams. You know those emails that try to trick you into giving up your info?
Yeah, yeah. Click here to claim your prize.
Exactly. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Right. So the Bank of Uganda heist, it's bad, obviously, but it's a lesson for all of us.
A very expensive lesson.
Definitely. It shows just how crucial cybersecurity is, especially as the world becomes more and more digital.
And it raises some big questions like how do we balance the convenience of digital transactions with the need for security?
Yeah, because we all love being able to do our banking online, pay our bills, shop, all that stuff. We got to make sure it's safe, too.
And that's something each of us has to think about. What steps can you take in your own life to navigate this digital world safely?
That's a great question for our listeners to ponder. And remember, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to learn about cybersecurity, so many ways to protect ourselves.
It's an ongoing conversation.
Exactly. So stay vigilant, stay informed, and stay safe out there in the digital world, folks.
Words to live by.
Absolutely.